What's up, everybody? This is Donaldo Sume here. We out here making another video about the Karma Revero. Just a quick view for you guys. So this one is the black with the pearl blue flakes inside of it. It's impossible for you to see, but it's pretty nice. Anyway, so let's go ahead and tell you a few things that I don't like about this car. So first thing first is just the fender here. This one is obviously getting replaced, but for some reason, I don't know what happened to it. It just kind of like, it just keep coming up. So it's the fender liner for this side and also the passenger side, both coming up. And I think it's probably when they were just taking off the tire, they mess up something. So that's why they couldn't really fix it. But that's into work for them to replace. And the other thing is just the door here. So as you can see, it's kind of like fit nice in this here, and then when you go down you have a huge gap, and then going back up you have a bigger gap. When you're driving you hear a lot of wind noise inside because of these gaps. The windows, if you can see here, it's kind of like sticking out over here, and then when you go up it just goes flush. The back side is not so much, it's just the same thing. It just come up a little bit. I can see inside of the car from here because the seal that they put in there is not that great. But when you get to the top, it seals quite well, and everything fits fine on there. The plastic cover that they put there, I mean, yeah, you could just make it ABS or stronger plastic, so that way you don't have to worry about these little things just those like that, just folding all over the place. And if you are in a hurry and then you just plug this car to like a fast charging, when you try to take this out, trying to put it back in, it's just gonna take forever. And that's another thing a lot of people hate about this, and most of the time you end up closing it with that not being all the way in as it should. Quick example, you can see how stretched the cover port is. So when you putting it in, you just gotta try to align it for some reason, and boom, there you have it. And just make sure it's in and you go from there. All right, so the other thing is just the trunk of the car. It's not so big, so I have a lot of nonsense in there right now, which you guys do not want to see. It's a mess in the back. It's not as big as you would expect, so it's impossible for you to use it. But this one here, for the gas cover, so you have to pop it from the inside in order for you to pump fuel in the car. Honestly, I can say this, since I got this car, I've only been to the gas station about 3 times. So once when I was driving from Orlando to here, and then the 2 other times just because I was driving around the city too much to add fuel in the vehicle and go from there. And the seats are just like lovely, very comfortable seats when you sit in the back. Well, there's 2 things that I don't like about the stereo system. So the bass in the back here, some music you listening to, it's just vibrating everything so much to the point that your visor here is shaking. And then there's certain frequency that the subwoofer in the back here cannot play. And over here you got the rear headrest speakers. So there's no door speaker in the rear, so you only have 2 door speaker, one in the front on either side of the front, and you have a center speaker, which most of the time you can't even hear it, and you got the tweeters that's on there. But as far as these one, depends on the way you set up the setting. It's kind of like you sitting in the middle of the music. It's kind of like a concert hall or something like that, which sounds really great. But the only thing that sucks about this, if somebody's sitting in the back and you're listening to music, it's gonna be impossible for them to stay focused because it gets so loud. They might just be like, you know what, I don't want this in the back of my ears the whole time. And which is why that it is always the most common way that most manufacturers put the speakers on the doors versus in the back of somebody's head, because you might suffer from hearing loss at some point because of that. In the rear over here, there is like a 2 cup holder, very convenient. I think if they were like side by side, it would make perfect sense. But right now, if you sit here, you put your drink there, so you kind of have to turn your... All right, the other annoying thing is when you walk out of the car and then you have the key in your pocket, it just makes all these crazy sound with the horn. Other than that, it's a pretty sweet car. I think something that Karma should work on is adjust the door size. I think they were slipping. Somebody just messed up while they were designing this thing. I mean, honestly, I don't even know how you could possibly fuck up, add that much gap on the door without even seeing it. I think they had already manufactured them. They're just like, you know what, whatever. We're just gonna stick it on there anyway. Um, we'll fix it if they, the customer stop complaining about it. And I think that's what I'm doing right now. I'm gonna complain about this. This is a killer right here. I mean, when Tesla came out, so Tesla had a bunch of these as well, like major gap, uneven gaps everywhere. Even on the hood here, when you come here, you see the gap is small. As you go down, it just get wider and wider and wider, which is kind of like nonsense. So if they can work on these little flaws and fix them, I think that could be a beauty. And another tip for them as well is just moving the battery that's in the center. Just move the battery on the floor. So that's one thing that I would recommend that Karma do. Just instead of having this whole centerpiece here, blocking you and things like that, just push the battery lower and spread it out on the floor. Raise the car a little bit, give it a little bit leg room and a little bit more space in the trunk. And then instead of having a generator stuff the front, replace the generator with more batteries. I think you could fit a lot of battery cells in the front. If you pack them nice and neat, you should be able to get at least 300 more miles instead of having a generator in the front for 280. But other than that, guy, this is pretty much it about the car. It says you get about 80 miles, but obviously the 80 miles is based on your driving and based on the current road condition, weather and things like that. Right now it says 38%, 24 miles. That's all I can drive on there. And once that 24 miles is done, it automatically asks me to switch it over to sustain mode. At that point, the generator in the front just kicks in, and then I keep driving just like nothing ever happened. I don't really have to stop for anything until my fuel level is going to E. Once that goes to E, then I don't have enough electric mileage. Then at that point, I need to either stop at an Electrify America charger or any charging station, get some charge, not a Tesla one, or stop at a gas station, add some more fuel. One thing I can say about this car, from empty to full, it will cost you roughly about 30 bucks, and then that goes to about 280 miles. And once you add the you fully charge it to 80 miles for electric, you get about 360 miles overall. So give or take, with weather fluctuations and road road conditions and stuff like that, you might get a solid 320 miles if you think about it. But overall, you don't really drive that much in this car. So most people have this car, don't really drive it, because I just have this car parked most of the time. I barely drive it. I drive it maybe once every morning for like 1 mile, then that's it. And other than that, it's just sitting down parked looking like a sexy girl, so people can just walk around and admire the look and stuff like that. Anyway, this is it about the car, guys. So just let me know what you think, and if you do have more questions, go ahead, post your comment. I'll be happy to assist you with that, given that I'm not an expert in this car yet. But what I can tell you, I am working on a fix to change this screen here to like a full Android system. In this case, when you get in the car, your phone would wirelessly connect it to the Android system, which in turn connects to here. You can watch YouTube videos and do all that crazy stuff. So that just gives the car a little bit stamina. But in other words, I think what Karma should do is kind of like, instead of making the screen like this, kind of like switch the screen to about a 35-degree angle and make it a little bit longer and deeper. So the screen would start from here and it probably ended about right here in this section here, and then which would make the screen a little bit bigger. Instead of having people forcing them to use like Apple CarPlay or Android Auto or whatever, do have a built-in map that use Google inside of the car. That way it's ready to go, because not everybody have a phone that do CarPlay or even know how to use it. It will make it easier for most people that buy it. Obviously, most of the people buy it, obviously they're gonna sell it again. And as you sell this car, the more you sell it, the more the value goes down. It's gonna end up in a regular Joe hand, and they're gonna be really pissed about not having a built-in map in the car. I think a built-in one would be something like a Google map pulling straight using the 3G data system that currently in the car. Then that would be fine. So if people have to pay a subscription to use it, so be it. Rather you give that option for them to pay a subscription instead of having nothing there. Because that was the first thing I say, what the hell, how come there's not a map there? Then they were like, no, you have Apple CarPlay. So it took me about 10 minutes to figure this thing out. But after all, so all is well. So if I need to go somewhere, I just come in the car, plug my phone, and go from there, and act like nothing ever happened. Other than that, ladies and gentlemen, this is it about the Karma Revero GT. It's a lovely car. So now it's time for me to take it on a crazy drive. Peace.